Hey, I hope you're well today. This is Pastor Drew from Church.home. I am just out and about. I thought I'd share a quick thought before my next engagement. I've been sharing these thoughts from my one-year Bible reading program. Yesterday we began the book of 1 Samuel, and we saw a really important lesson in chapter 3 of 1 Samuel of God calling Samuel. And we saw how it was important for God to speak to Samuel when things had slowed down. And so it's important now when things have slowed down, we're probably, quarantined, working from home and all that. It's important to begin seeking God's voice and hearing God's voice. Now the thing that we didn't talk about though is what God was telling Samuel when he was calling him. And he didn't have very good news for Samuel. He actually had bad news. He wanted to deliver some very bad news on behalf of Eli, the priest. You see, Eli had two sons who were called Hophni and Phinehas, who were very disobedient boys. I mean, they were just like the original bad boys. And so, they had blasphemed God. They had done many things that didn't please God. And so God was just telling Samuel, you know what? I am about to punish Eli and his whole household. And, you need to tell this to Eli. And so that's interesting because my readings today were chapter 4 to chapter 7, and it's interesting that God was warning Samuel that Eli did not take heed of the warning that God had given him about his sons, and that he was going to punish his whole family because of that. We read again that same thing happens to Samuel. He had two sons who also did not follow in his ways. So it's like a circle which is repeating itself. I mean, Samuel should have known better. I mean, he saw with his own eyes, and the three of them die on the same day. Eli dies, his sons die. There's a battle that ensues. Philistine overthrows Israel. They take the ark. It's a horrible situation. And almost the whole family of Eli dies on that day. You would have think Samuel would have known better and taken heed of the warning and warned his own children. But we see that not happening. And so when he gets old, in the following verses, and now he wants his sons to take over. The people refuse because they're like, you know what, these guys are not like you. They have not followed in your ways, and they can't be our leaders. And so they are called Joel and Abijah. Those were Samuel's sons. And so Israel asks for their own king. You see, all this time, from the beginning, God had worked with prophets or judges, men and women who he spoke to on behalf of Israel. And that was the governance structure, that God was the one leading them through prophets. But this time Israel were asking for a king, and chapter 8 sets out an incredible warning for the children of Israel, for this thing they were asking for this earthly king that they were asking for. And it's just eye-opening to see all these things at play today. When we ask for our own earthly leaders, when we look to men to lead us, when we forget to call on God, when we forget to seek His face, when we forget to call upon His Spirit, the greatest resource we have in our day, there is trouble for us. There is trouble for us. Small wonder we find ourselves where we are today, with great trouble in our day. May God help us, and may we learn from Samuel and Eli. 1, to disciple our children in our ways and in the ways of God, hoping our ways are the ways of God. And 2, to make God a priority, to make Him our King, to make Him the one we seek after, the one we look to lead us, to guide us, to guard us, to even govern us. May God bless you as you consider these thoughts.